Evening, everybody. Rev.Dave Roach here, uploading a new sermon to my YouTube series. We're going to call it Bear Your Own Burdens. You'll find it in Galatians chapter 6. The Bible talks much about bearing one another's burdens. It has about 6 verses there where Paul's talking to the church at Galatia. He's speaking about bearing one another's burdens. He said, bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. But about 2 more verses down in verse 6, he said, but let every man bear his own burden. Now, you may think that that's some kind of oxymoron or some kind of well, for a better word, it's not in agreement with one another, but that's not the truth. That word burden in the first verse that I mentioned is a Greek word that means griefs and sorrows. Griefs and sorrows. That is when somebody's legitimately came on hard times, or they've had a death in the family, or serious illness, something that is beyond their immediate control, that it so affects their life that they cannot handle it on their own. And it is those times of life, when you fall on hard times as brothers and sisters in the Lord, that you are supposed to help each other out, lift each other up, give people a hand up, if you will. It is not a verse to be taken to where you supply everything a person needs from the cradle to the grave, and they bear no responsibility for the decisions they make, for the life they choose, or the things they do. That is not a biblical principle at all. Fact of business is when you die, and the Bible says it is appointed once for a man to die, and after this cometh the judgment. You yourself are going to face God with what you do as an individual. You're not going to give an answer for your brother, your sister, your mother, your children. No, you are going to answer for what you do. Not only are you going to answer for what you do in this life to God, but you are going to answer for what you do in this life, As in this same chapter, it speaks of, it says, God is not mocked, for that which a man soweth, that same thing shall he also reap. It's just simply the law of God, and it's proven true throughout your whole life. If you, as an example, went through school, you went through the 12th grade, you went on to a 2-year school, got your associate's degree, then you went into a 4-year school, got your master's degree, and then you decided that you're going to further your education even farther, and you go and get your doctorate degree. You are going to attain a certain level in life that the man or woman who dropped out in the 10th grade is simply not going to attain. Because you sowed, if you will, you sowed into your education. And now, because you planted or sowed into your education, you are going to reap the benefits of what you did, of what you sowed. If you plant 10 rows of corn, you can expect to get 10 rows of corn. If you decide not to wake up in the morning and plow your field and you plant 0 rows of corn, riddle me this: how many rows of corn will you get? The answer is quite simple. Thereby proving this God's law, the law of sowing and reaping. Simply put, brothers and sisters, excuse me, whatever you put into life, you're going to reap it, be it good or bad. If you bless your brother and sister, you may not see it at the moment, but that's the nature of planting, isn't it? You've sowed those seeds of blessing. You've picked a brother and sister up. You have provided some of their means and their needs immediately to help them get on their feet. You may not see that reward from God right then and there. Just like you don't see the corn stalk come up after the second day you put the seed in the ground. Those things take a process of time to germinate and come forth. Just like your bad decisions, just like the bad things you sow in life. I myself, you yourself, you have sown things in your life that you're not proud of. And you, to the full extent, may not have reaped the harvest of what you have sown, be it good or bad. Excuse me, as of yet. But you trust and believe me, you will. You'll do some things in your 20s and when you're young and you don't think anything of it. Excuse me. You don't think anything of it at the time. But when you're 35, you're going to start to feel in your body the mistakes of your youth, whether if you have sown foolishly, one way or another. And you simply can't escape that in this life. It's going to come back to you, good or bad. Now in this chapter it goes on to say, let every man bear his own burden. Now that word in the Greek is translated responsibilities. Yes, this is a generation, brothers and sisters, to where people are not bearing their responsibilities. You see, it's not the man or woman sitting next to you. It's not their responsibility to put a roof over your head. It's not their responsibility to feed you. It's not their responsibility to clothe you, to treat you with medical care. It's not anybody's responsibility other than you to take care of you and your house. Now, as I said, there are legitimate circumstances to where we are to help one another. But the man who is able-bodied, or woman, man or woman, that is able-bodied in their body and their mind, and capable of working, that man or woman should be left to starve if they choose not to do what they can to provide the basic necessities of life. Now you say, well, preacher, that's pretty harsh. Well, that's not my words. That's God's words. He says that if a man doth not work, neither shall he eat. How hard is that for people to understand? You don't think God will let you starve to death and die? Yes, he will. If you've heard of the sin of sloth, haven't you? Laziness. If all you do during the day is get up at 12 and 1 o'clock in the afternoon, playing checkers, playing PlayStation, doing whatever it is you do other than being productive, it's nobody else's responsibility to take care of you. And it is that precise reason, because people have taken this idea of Christianity that we're supposed to that we're some kind of doormats and we're supposed to take care of you from cradle to grave, and they have taken that and abused the system. We see it on our job all the time. When people with legitimate needs for assistance cannot get it because it is squandered before they have an opportunity. So you cannot ever help the legitimate need because somebody is always gaming the system. You see? This is making sense. It should be making sense. Yes, brothers and sisters, I'm a firm believer in helping each other out. But I'm also a firm believer in you helping yourself. I mean, the doctrine of salvation is a prime example. God did for you what you couldn't do for yourself. He went and paid a debt that you couldn't pay. But he said he bought you with a price. So now you are to work for him. Not so you're working off a debt, but just because you are appreciative of what he has done for you. In other words, there's some motivation behind you getting up and working. Working instills a sense of pride in a man or a woman. When you can sit down at the end of the day and look at some of the things you have accomplished in life, and you feel a sense of pride associated with that, thereby making you get up and continue to press on and better yourself. Yes, I'm all about giving a hand up, but I am never about giving a hand out, and neither is God. In my closing minutes, I'll share with you, just look at the Garden of Eden, brother. God laid this whole thing out perfectly for us, for mankind. The earth was going to work for you. You had dominion over the animals, over the beasts of the field. You had dominion over everything in the garden, Adam and Eve. They messed up. They sowed foolishly. And now, God, he cursed them. Now, instead of the earth working for Adam, Adam was going to have to do what? The Bible says, work for the earth. You simply cannot escape it. So I encourage every one of you, maybe sit back and take a look and personally evaluate your own life. Are you draining the system dry? Christian man, Christian woman? Are you squandering the resources God gave you on riotous living? And a lot of people do that too. A lot of times God will bless people, and they'll just burn through it and don't even know where the blessings went. Some people don't get blessed at all because, you know what? Some people can't get nothing because they can't handle nothing. The minute they get something in their fingers, it's gone. Poof. Like a puff of smoke. Well, hope this message finds you strengthened tonight. Until the next time, God keep you and bless you. We love you in the Lord.